Get up here, let's see. As I said, my name is Pat Talongan. I'm the president and founder of the Children's Neuroblastoma Cancer Foundation. We started this foundation in 2000, a year after we lost our son, Nicky, to neuroblastoma. He was 6 years old when he was diagnosed and unfortunately passed away at the age of 10. And this goes back, to 1995. So back then, there was not a whole lot of clinical trials available for these children. And so one of the reasons when, after Nicky passed, we wanted to continue the fight, for the rest of the children that were out there. And so funding clinical research, clinical trials for neuroblastomas, we desperately, desperately need this. As Ryan said, less than, or about 1% of federal funding goes to pediatric cancer in general, and then you start dividing that because then there's about 12 different pediatric cancers. So you start dividing that, and it actually comes out to about $5,400 per child per year, which is horrible. I mean, it's just horrible for these children. And so the private philanthropy that is raised, the money that is raised in fundraisers like this is huge. It's just huge, huge, huge. And I just can't thank you all enough for coming out, participating, and being a part of the cure process. And that's basically what you are. You are now owning part of the cure for all of these little children. We have several neuroblastoma survivors in the audience. And thank God, thank God for research. Thank God for Dr. Marchalian and all the other doctors within the NANT and all the other institutions across the country. And I just wanted to say, if we could give a good round of applause to Carly, Johnny, Emily, and all of our neuroblastoma angels. Thank you so much. And the next speaker that we're going to have here, and again, just thank you so much for being a part of this after all these years. Many, many times these fundraisers kind of dwindle and fizzle away and never happen again. But this is tremendous, and I just can't thank you all enough. And for everyone that participates, the Jusins, Kevin, Ryan and his entire family, I can't thank you enough for what you've done. And we really, really appreciate it. So our next guest is a young lady. Her and her grandmother and her family have come to our conference many, many times, and I remember her when she was very, very little. I don't even remember, I think she was still in treatment at the time, 4 years ago.
4 years old.
And she is just, to me, she's my hero, and I hope after you listen to her, I hope she becomes your hero, because she's just an amazing, amazing young lady. And every time I listen to her and every time I talk to her, I'm so inspired by what she does, what she says, and what she has been through. And she is the most positive, warm person I've ever met. And she's just a sweetheart of a young lady. And her name is Emily Ware. And we will have Emily come and talk right now.
Hello, I am Emily Ware, a three-time neuroblastoma cancer survivor. I am 15 and a half years old, and I have been without chemo for 5.5 years. For those of you who are unfamiliar with neuroblastoma, it is a solid tumor of the nervous system. I was diagnosed when I was 2 years old in July of 2002. My tumor grew out of my right adrenal gland and was attached to my right kidney, liver, and wrapped around all 5 of my main arteries. As many can imagine, this at such a young age is quite shocking, and for my family, it was shocking and devastating. When I started treatment, there wasn't much hope. There was a 50% chance for first-time diagnosis with a survival rate. It dropped to 10% after the second time, and then the third time, they wouldn't talk percentages at all to my mom. The reason for this is because I was a stage 3, but I have the unfavorable cell and amplificated G. Because of this, I was treated as a stage 4. I started with high-dose chemo for 4 months, and then after this, I had a 7-hour surgery the week of Thanksgiving at Cincinnati Children's. They thought a small percentage of the tumor could be removed, but luckily they were able to remove 95% of it. Then 1 month shortly after this, on Christmas Day of 2003, I went in for a stem cell transplant in Columbus, Ohio. This was 30 days in a 1-room sterile environment. After transplant, I had 3 weeks of radiation in which I was sedated every day, finishing with 6 months of the magic bullet, which is a monoclonal antibody infused by IV for 5 days inpatient for 1 week every month. This caused excruciating nerve pain. I was the first child in the state of Ohio to receive this treatment, which was from Sloan Kettering in New York City. Most of my treatments were children's oncology group studies. Then I was in remission for 10 months and went for routine scans, and in July of 2005, I relapsed with a 4-inch tumor around my aorta and behind my heart. I then started low-dose outpatient chemo, in which I got chemo every day for 10 days on, Monday through Friday, and then a 2-week break for 24 months. I had open heart surgery at Columbus Children's 3 days before Christmas 2005. Then I had 3 weeks of radiation in April of 2006. I then finished my 24 months of chemo in June of 2007 and was announced NED, no evidence of disease. I was in remission for 2.5 years and was able to do the everyday life things of a 7-year-old. Then sadly, in January of 2010, I was complaining of major back pain and headaches daily. So my mom took me to my oncologist, and we soon found out I relapsed again. This time, my tumor was wrapped around my jugular vein and my spinal cord. This was the reason I had back pain and headaches. This was the 3rd time, and my oncologist was told by his colleagues there was no hope or new treatment. Well, he said, "You don't know Emily." I soon had my 5th and final port placed and started chemo immediately for 1 week on with a 2-week break. I had scheduled to have a 2nd open heart surgery to remove the tumor, but after 2 5-day rounds of chemo, it was gone. I continued with the chemo regimen with 2 chemos I had before and 1 new chemo I had never received before, finishing December of 2010. I also had radiation again every day for 3 weeks. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do you go through all of this and be beyond? Well, thanks to CNCF President Pat Longan and the CNCF conferences which my family was able to attend, educated us and gave us new hope. Every new positive story was so encouraging, and we soon found many new coming treatment options specialized for neuroblastoma. I also enjoyed these conferences because in our amazing kids room at the conference, I met many kids who went through the same journey as myself. We all weren't different as we were in everyday society. For that summer weekend, we were just normal kids who were looking for hope and a laugh all at the same time. I have been in remission for 5 years and still attend conferences just to send a message of hope to many other families. My life now is great. I attend school, hang out with family and friends, and enjoy the activities of typical teenage girls. Although I am 5 years out of treatment, I am still picking up the aftermath of my journey, such as permanent side effects. Some side effects include the loss of 6 inches in height from each time my spine was radiated, freezing that 2-inch section, which will never grow and stay the same size of a 3, 5, and 9-year-old. This causes scoliosis and is one of my ongoing problems. I also have early stages of osteoporosis, which puts me at high risk for bone fractures. I have back and knee pain, which I have physical therapy for. I recently had to give up Scottish Highland dance because my knees can't take the stress. I have high-pitched hearing loss, and I do have hearing aids, but I don't like to wear them. I have endocrinology problems from the stem cell treatment, and I have reached 410 and might grow 1 more inch. I didn't have 4 of my adult teeth form, and I have short roots, which the braces may cause me to lose all of my teeth. But it is worth the risk because they were such a problem. I had optic nerve damage and corrective lenses at the age of 5 to 10 to help fix this problem. I don't have much function of my right kidney and no right adrenal gland. It is a shame that the drug companies won't develop a treatment for neuroblastoma because it's not cost effective. I pray research can find the drugs that are not so aggressive and that cause lifelong problems for children to deal with. All I have ever wanted was to be a normal kid, but because I am different and I've grown up in hospitals and spent so much time with doctors and nurses, children my age tease and bully me because I am different and very mature for my age. So yes, I still have many doctor visits and hope to go into the field to give back, the field of oncology, to give back to all the doctors and people who have taken care of me. It has truly been my pleasure speaking to you today. Please feel free to ask me questions and I would be glad to answer.